I still fondly remember the days back when I was in middle school and I would install Firefox on the school computers because Internet Explorer was garbage. Firefox changed the way we use the web fundamentally, and I'm so thankful it exists. I've been using it a lot more recently in my quest to remove Arc from my life, and as great as Zen has been as a browser, it has reinvigorated my hatred, my deep disdain for the current state of Firefox. And I don't know if you Firefox users are delusional, stupid, or just what, but to pretend this browser's in an acceptable state makes no sense to me at all. I feel like I'm going mad. We have a lot to talk about here. Everything from fonts to gradients that just don't work. This is going to be a fun one. Before we can dive too deep, quick word from today's sponsor. T3 Chat. Okay, I'm not technically sponsoring myself. I mean, I do pay myself, not a lot, but I wanted to show off the app that I've spent the last couple weeks building because I'm really, really proud of what we have. This is the AI chat app I use for everything other than benchmarking how bad the other AI chats are. We have access to pretty much every model you'd reasonably want to use. We also have DeepSeek v3, R1, self-hosted R1 on Hyperbolic, which actually works because the official DeepSeek APIs are down, as well as the distilled model, which flies. Speaking of flying, our UI is by far the fastest of any of the places you can do any of this stuff on the internet. If I ask Llama, we'll ask one of the reasoning models. Solve advent of code 2022 day 5 in Rust. You could open the reasoning. See how fast that reasoning is coming in? It's kind of silly. We don't auto scroll for you because it goes that fast. And you can open up other things in the background. Let's ask Llama 3, solve advent of code 2021 day 3 in Python. Basically instant. Even the official OpenAI models run better on our platform than their platform because we partnered with Azure to make sure they can run as fast as possible. If you want a stable, reliable, consistent, and fast experience prompting every model that costs way less, we're only $8 a month, you should definitely check out T3 Chat today. Anyways, back to whatever I was just talking about. People have been mad at me for my takes on Firefox for a while, and I'll be honest, they had a reasonable point. I wasn't using Firefox every day. How the hell could I know? Well, I've been using Firefox every day, so now I know. It is bad. It is atrocious. It is so unacceptable. I don't actually understand how people pretend otherwise. I scroll down to read the comments. There's a lot of people pretending otherwise. I know how this goes. They're all wrong and stupid, using Linux on an 8-bit monitor, pretending that things are fine. Well, not... I have a lot of anger here, and I am sorry, but I just cannot believe people have conned the world into thinking this browser functions. It doesn't. It's horrifying. Zen is in a surprisingly good state considering the rotting corpse it's built around, and I keep reaching for Vivaldi when I try to do dev work because Firefox is driving me insane. This wasn't the first problem I ran into, but it was the one that made it hardest for me to justify my time. There is one other I want to showcase, though. This is a post from Egoist. If you don't know him, he's the creator of TSUp, which is an essential library for bundling TypeScript packages and code in general. He's one of my favorite devs. I love him dearly. We're kind of competing with T3 Chat versus Chatwise, which is his app. Check it out if you want a good local purchased app that you hit API keys with yourself. It's a really good chat app, probably the best thing I would recommend on top of T3 Chat. He saw me and a bunch of others using Firefox, started playing with it again himself, and immediately started running into chaotic things that make no sense at all. If you make a web standard request in Chrome, body is a readable stream. If you make a web standard request in Firefox, body does not exist. If this is where the weird request response problems ended, fine, but it's not. If I go in here into a random chat on T3 Chat, we'll hop in, we'll pick a slower model so I can really demo this. The hyperbolic model will be nice and slow. I'm gonna send a message. Write me 10 fun facts about seals. And here we have the chat, and it has nothing in it. It will never have anything in it. Here it's just not working because that model is dying. Oh, hyperbolic. Here we have the response. It shows you the whole thing when it completes. But if I close out of that, write 20 more. And now we click here. Nothing. We cannot see the streamed response until the streamed response is done. There is no concept of HTTP streaming inside of Firefox's DevTools. If I move over to a competent browser, write me 20 fun facts about seals. And now we click chat, and we get a streamed response immediately, and you can scroll to the bottom and see it continuing to come in. I know this seems dumb, but when you're streaming responses that take sometimes like 30 seconds to a minute, having to wait for the whole response to come through before you can debug it isn't an option. It's not like, oh, I'd prefer. No, there is no preference here. This is objectively good, and this is objectively useless. If you're working on a real service, you're not going to wait a minute plus for your response to come in to make sure the stream is formatted correctly. You're just not. This isn't good enough. And because of this, as much as I've been loving my experience with Zen, when I'm working on T3 chat, I do not use Zen. I reach for a browser that is based on something competent. And we're just getting started here. I wrote a whole list of the things that have been pissing me off because there's a lot of them. And this isn't a new thing for me. This has been going on for a while. Some of these things are new stuff, like crazy, fancy view transition things and new cool things going on in CSS that just don't exist in Firefox yet. Some of them are just unacceptable and have been this way for a while. We'll start with the WebRTC stuff because I have feelings. In case you didn't know, a lot of my initial claim to fame was a little service I built called Ping. It's Zoom for streamers. Make it easy for live collaboration to happen at super high quality. We supported every browser initially because why wouldn't we? Well, there was a reason why. If you had Firefox as your browser, you were heavily restricted in which video things you could support. On Apple Silicon Macs, they don't support H.264. Yeah, this is the one that killed us. Firefox doesn't support changing the frame rate for some reason. I don't know why. I assumed, okay, that's fine. What that means is Firefox users will be locked to 30, whatever. They're using a bad browser, they can send 30 FPS. The problem is if someone else in the call is at 60 FPS, every frame over 30 leaks memory. And you end up with your browser crashing 5 to 15 minutes in if one other person in the call is going higher than 30 FPS. So if you have just one person who insists on using this broken browser, everyone in the call have to have their frame rate locked to 30. But there was an easier option for us. We picked a slightly easier option. This was the right decision. I don't want to support the Chrome monopoly. I don't think that we should only have one browser engine. I am thankful that we are able to have standards that move forward and progress in meaningful ways. It's just sad that the alternative browser follows standards the worst, provides the worst experience, and forces me to do stuff like this that just gets me in trouble constantly. And I really hope all the people who constantly flame me for saying I'm too mean to Firefox is not that bad, you just don't know what you're talking about, will watch this and flame me like they always do because they're not going to be rational about this. If they were rational people, they wouldn't be defending Firefox. The reason Google made Chrome isn't because they hate Firefox and want to kill it. It's the web wasn't moving fast enough and they wanted their apps to work well without needing to install something on your computer. So you install one thing, Chrome, and now all these things are more capable. They also want to support the whole ecosystem, so they pay Firefox a whole bunch of money, and they make things that are actual open standards for other browsers to implement, which Firefox does like a third of the time. And it's kind of hilarious that a lot of the things shipped in Samsung Internet before they made it to Firefox. If these people were defending Samsung Internet, I would make fun of them more aggressively, and I hope you would all join me. But the fact that Samsung Internet is further along on implementing standards than Firefox is because they're too busy reinventing the logo and branding for the 5th time with an agency. Legendary ass chatter Arvin here. Thank you for finding this. This is the chart I remember seeing that I couldn't find anywhere. You'll notice something here. A lot of browsers don't seem to support most resolutions. Chrome seems to support literally everything you can throw at it. But notice here the drop-off. As soon as you get to high resolutions, Firefox disappears. As soon as you drop 60 FPS, Firefox disappears. As soon as you do anything that's higher quality than a Google Meet, Firefox doesn't support that use case. I'm not saying for playing back videos in YouTube. Yes, I'm sure you're watching this on Firefox, super happy, the 0.5% of my audience that actually uses it, clicking that little settings button, hitting 4K, and smiling to yourself, seeing that resolution. But if you're a professional creator of any form, and you actually use your browser for your work, and that work involves ever creating a video track, you cannot do it in Firefox. It's not like, oh, you can, but no, you cannot do it. The fact that you cannot create a 1080p video track in Firefox is a joke that required us to block them from our service. Thankfully, as Luke points out here, people aren't actually using Firefox. They say they are, but they're lying.
Okay, so we're looking at 45% saying they're using Firefox.
So I got information from AJ, and yeah, everyone's lying.
Oh. About the browser thing?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Okay. So other the heck is Facebook? Yandex? Chrome derivative. Okay, there's your bottom three. Then you got Silk, Opera Mobile, Chrome Mobile Web View, Samsung Internet, and Opera. Everything I just said is about half of unknown, which is a little less than Edge, which is about the same as Safari, which is about on par with mobile Safari. So Safari in here actually outpacing Chrome Mobile.
People watching MAC address.
And in total, Firefox holds somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15% share.
Which has improved. It used to be lower.
Yeah, but you guys...
It genuinely used to be lower.
I think it's loud minority.
It's not 70%.
Yeah, it's not. I think we were seeing some loud minority nonsense there.
So 50% of people said they were using Firefox, and about 15% actually are. If we go to Plausible, where we have analytics for something like T3 chat, and mind you, I just did a bunch of Firefox propaganda with Zen. Despite that, we're only at 16. And that's like post-propaganda about it. That's insane. Let's do a poll of our own. Browser, Firefox, I like it. Firefox, I hate it. And this is browser base. So if you're using Arc or Vivaldi, you're on Chrome. If you're using Zen, you're on Firefox. Chrome, like it. Chrome, hate it. Other. Other is if you're not using something based on Firefox or Chrome. So if you're one of those like 3 Safari people or a Ladybird person that isn't even watching stream because you can't actually watch it, let's see what you say. Yeah. And I feel this too. I want to like Safari, but it does weird shit. I totally agree. No navigation API in Firefox. Yeah, there's so many of these like APIs that I rely on all the time that just don't exist in Firefox at the moment. And it drives me mad constantly. Navigation API is brand new, same as view transitions. Yes, but then there's a lot of old things they also don't support. Cool. I got what I needed to out of this poll. There's a surprising number of people who like Firefox and are using it, but these numbers don't play out in reality from my experience at all. And it seems like a lot more people use Firefox and hate it than the same with Chrome. Chrome wins here, but in every poll, everything, every service that I ship, Firefox is not this highly represented even. If we hop over to like Quick Pick, for example. Oh, that's a higher percentage than I would have expected there. Interesting. Upload thing. Yeah, a lot more what I would expect. 12%-ish. I'm not going to show ping because it's going to be biased as hell. I will show this, which is my actual t3.gg site. Ignore the URL there. 18%. Yeah. So it is a real percentage. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it, that 18% of users can't see gradients. They just get a bunch of bars. That's kind of stupid. 18% of web users have fonts that are rendering incorrectly half the time. 18% of users are just not able to use a bunch of these things that have been web standards forever now. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of absurd that a browser this broken is not only used this much, but is pitched as though it is totally fine, works exactly how every browser works, and I'm insane for thinking otherwise. I felt like I was going insane the whole time I was realizing all of these things. Obviously, Firefox is a bit slower to implement new features. That's fine and acceptable, but CSS container queries are awesome, and I'm super, super excited for those to be implemented in more things. Firefox is the only major browser that isn't even trying to do it. Again, even Samsung Internet has managed to make it happen. Web share, just missing outright. There are so many of these. View transitions. Only major browser to not support them. If you're not familiar, view transitions are actually really cool. If you go to my blog, you can see them in action. When I click something, the fade in and out between things isn't some crazy CSS I wrote. It's a view transition that just now exists as a browser standard. You now have the ability in the browser to set certain elements and say, this will be here. And then if it moves when you go to a different page, it'll actually move the element for you. It's so, so cool. Naman's the creator of StyleX, so his is going to be full. Oh, did you see that transition there? This flies up to the top in a super cool way because the element is marked in the HTML as an element that is going to be on multiple pages. So when you switch pages, the browser will transition it. View transition means when the view changes, a transition will happen. And when I click this, you see the title morph because it's still identified as the same element. And it does these super fancy animations without having to write almost any code to do it. It's all just part of the browser. So I'm sure this will work great in Firefox, right? Yeah. This is great. Did you see how the text was half missing when I opened the page? Oh, Luke, we were just watching you guys talking about this. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm so done with Firefox. I'm trying. There are so many of these little features that I'm genuinely excited for. And it's just sad that you can barely use half of them. I still can't get over the gradient thing. So by the time you're watching this, my tutorial should probably already be out. You might notice that this looks pretty boring. If we hop over to Chrome, it looks less boring. Oh, so it just doesn't render no, it does render the gradient. But since it renders the gradient so poorly, I intentionally marked this supports here to say it cannot support Moz experience. And if it doesn't, then we'll render the actual gradient. Otherwise, we just have a boring standard background. So if I comment all that out, we go back over. Oh God, I don't know how good this is gonna come off in the video compression because video compression just kind of sucks. But if we go back to my post, this picture should hopefully emphasize the point here. One of these is smooth. One of these is just lines. Video compression is going to make the banding worse. It always does. Video compression sucks. I'm sorry. I'll leave a link to this tweet in the description so you can see it on your own device and tell me if you think the difference is visible or not. I'll tell you, in reality, it's quite visible to the point where it drove me insane to have people saying it wasn't, admittedly, because of compression. And there's a lot of websites that don't handle the fact that Firefox can't render these properly. And if you go to certain sites, they just look terrible. People are saying Claude is one of them. Oh God. Oh God. It's just bars for me. I'll zoom in so you guys can see like bar. Oh God, that pan. I know the video compression is going to kill all of this, but I insist, just go to Claude.ai in a Firefox-based browser and then go to it in a real browser. And if you can't see the difference, I genuinely envy you. You're like one of those people that can't feel the difference between a hard drive and an SSD. That must be nice. I'm jealous. You're one of those people that can't tell the difference between a 30 hertz display and a 144 hertz one. I'm not like you. I can see the difference. It drives me insane. Yeah, and when I was setting this up, by the way, and I set up the gradient, I was using Zen as my only browser. And it just looked so bad. It's like, am I doing something wrong with my CSS here? Like, what's up? So I went into the Tailwind Playground to play more, and it had the exact same problem. So then I opened up Chrome, and it didn't. And I felt like my sanity was quickly dwindling. I assumed, oh, this must be because Zen isn't using hardware acceleration or something. So I went and turned on hardware acceleration. It was already on. Didn't have to change anything. Okay, I guess I'll try Firefox. And I went and tried stock Firefox just to be sure. Exact same problem. I wanted to blame Zen for this. I did, because if it was Zen's fault, they would fix it, because they're a super responsive, kind, thoughtful, caring team that fixes things super quick. They can't fix Firefox. They have managed to get a few PRs in, and I'm really proud of them for that. But the issue for this is 14 years old. Add dithering to gradient color transitions. Opened 14 years ago. Updated 2 days ago. I wonder if it's because I've been bitching. Called it. They're going to love this video, aren't they? Aren't they? Yeah. The problem is when you come at Firefox and explain how big these problems are, you get a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about pretending that it's the right thing. If you haven't fetched, the request doesn't have a body. This is the right thing, even though the browser standard says it works different. What are you trying to do here? Trying to get the body that I specified. Every actual web standards person in here is like, yeah, this sucks. And then all of you who have no idea what they're talking about are like, yeah, Firefox is just doing things some way. This is funny because Egoist and I are on the exact same side here. And I'm the one who's defending Zen and he's the one who's complaining about Firefox. I'm just coming out to defend him right now because he was entirely right. And these comments made me think I was going insane. And there's still more on the list, right? Oh, yeah, battery life. I got to talk about this one. So my battery was terrible in Arc. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that wasn't atrocious. It was. Zen was a lot better. I went from about 2 hours of battery with Arc to about 4 with Zen. But I'm using a very expensive, high-end 14-inch MacBook M2 from Apple that used to get 10 hours. I then tried Safari because, Safari is one with great battery. It was better, but not by a lot. Tried Firefox Core, and it was basically exactly the same as Zen. Tried Vivaldi, and I was back at my 10-hour mark. So funny enough, the browser that handled my battery life the best was the one based on Chrome. I thought Chrome was terrible for your computer, but not for my experience. Arc's in a terrible, atrocious state right now. I don't know how they defend it, but from my experience, Vivaldi, which is Chrome-based, had pretty solid battery. Safari didn't. Admittedly, Safari might have been bad because I was using T3 chat in it, and it seems like doing anything with IndexedDB in Safari is just begging for errors. I'll defend one thing about Firefox quick. I saw a lot of people saying that there are weird IndexedDB edge cases. Hell, my own AI chat app, when I asked it about Firefox problems, called out IndexedDB as one of the things that might be different. IndexedDB transactions are more strict when you're using them in Firefox than in other browsers. I didn't have that problem. T3 chats worked perfectly fine in Firefox from all of my use and all of the use that I've seen from many of our users. Safari makes me want to do terrible things to Apple employees. The state of Safari is actually inexcusable when it comes to some of these browser standard things, but at least it can render a gradient. I didn't expect Firefox to feel like a hobby side project when I used it. I kind of expected Zen to, but Zen blew me away. I expected Firefox to be a somewhat stable core thing, and it just isn't. I've had so many of these random things happen, from weird font rendering behaviors to standard things in the browser not working. I thought the dev tools were supposed to be good in Firefox. They have been, in every single way, significantly worse for me in my day-to-day use, and I gave it a real shot. I've been using this browser exclusively for 2 weeks, and when I say exclusively, I mean a week in, I was not able to deliver for my company as well, so I had Vivaldi open in the background for dev tools. I'm going to keep powering through with Zen. I am so excited to see where this browser can go. I just hope that Zen can pull Firefox forward with it, and that with a little bit of additional leverage from, I don't know, what if there was a popular YouTuber that had a lot of developers watching them that could maybe get some attention paid to these issues that have been sitting around for 14 years? Theoretically. We'll see where this goes. I hope this has helped emphasize why I don't like Firefox. Not because, I hate open source. It's because it doesn't work the way it's supposed to almost ever for a bunch of random stuff. I was mostly happy with my experience, but as soon as I started doing dev work and I was using Firefox as my browser, the cracks in the flooring started to show very quick. And while I'm going to do my best to power through using Zen, I just hope Firefox gets their shit together. I don't got anything else. I'm sure you guys are going to love this one. I'm excited for this comment section. And until next time, peace, nerds.